I don't know about you, Mike, but I feel like this week was nonstop for me in like all aspects of my existence, and I don't know. I feel like we were just sitting down recording a two-person podcast, and here we are yet again, which I don't mind doing. This is like, part of it is like it feels like vintage podcast, like it feels like vintage PTC.
I suppose.
I mean, I feel like there was a long run for certain points where it was you and I. I probably should have looked at some of those episodes to see what what we did on those episodes, because last week we had things we needed to talk about, and this week it's not that we don't have things we can talk about. There's some things we're gonna purposely table for when everyone else is here. So it kind of just, the dice rolled and it landed on two again, which I don't mind. This is a great time. I got a little guava sun boy here. I got fucking my guy over there on the camera. I see you over there. I see you, Go Sports. So
Yep.
I'm not mad about it. But a little inside baseball. This is just, I guess, how we're starting this episode. You and I were like, having a discussion about maybe trying some different things out on this episode, and I think we've decided to not do that yet. We'll see where the episode goes, I guess, but we do have some things we may workshop and try out at some point, just to bring some variety to the show, and maybe it ends up as its own little show that we do once in a while. Who knows? Who's to say? I'm not a doctor, but welcome everyone to the Pass the Controller podcast, a show where a couple of best friends talk about the latest in video games and nerd culture. Sometimes we have guests, sometimes it's just Mike and I kicking it, having a good time on a Friday evening. Either way, we have a great show for you every week. As always, I am your host, Brenden Groom, and joining me on this lovely Friday evening is the anime senpai himself, Mr. Michael Desir. Mike, how are you doing tonight?
Too damn hot.
It is hot, which I don't want to I don't want to get you too excited, but I'm just saying it's a little early on a Friday. We could do what we normally do and play some games after, or just hang out. Or we could get a little martini. We can go a little martini. Mike can come out tonight, if this is what I'm saying. Like, that's an option.
I had considered just getting ice cream, but whatever.
I mean, that's all. You don't have to hang out with me. That's fine. this hour can be the allotment. Probably not an hour tonight, just based on it's the two of us, and also it's pretty hot. It's pretty hot.
Yeah.
Surprise! I'm surprised I haven't lost. I think I only lost power once so far during the last couple months of all this heat. Have you lost it at all? There was like one. I think I texted you and I was like, "Did you lose power?" And I think you said no, but you could have
I
lost it
said
another
no.
time.
I feel like I did lose power at some point, but I don't think it was like prolonged. I think it just went out for a bit and then it came back.
Ours was quick. It was not that long, but always inconvenient, especially when all the devices. Cool. Well, we got a great show for you tonight. Before we jump right into it, a couple of quick housekeeping things. This episode, of course, sponsored by our good friends at Goodnight Fatty. If you're in the Salem, Massachusetts area or the North Shore of Massachusetts on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday evening, you want yourself something hot, something sweet, something tasty, something fresh out of the oven, you can head on down to 1 Washington Square and get yourself a delicious fatty. And if you're unaware of what a fatty is, you can check them out on Goodnight Fatty. On Instagram at Goodnight Fatty. Sorry, Jen texted me. I looked down and it threw off my spiel in my head. And educate yourself on these tasty, tasty treats. Other quick housekeeping things. The PTC Movie Club for July is Mike's pick, and it is Sinners. So make sure, if you want to hear us chat about Sinners, most likely next week. But because there's been a gap in everyone being here, that could get maybe pushed a week. We'll see. I don't know where everyone's going to be at next week on things, or if we have things we have to talk about. I need to kind of look at a few things, but I think, if it's not next week, it's the week after. But we'll talk about Sinners soon. So if you want to hear us chat about Sinners, make sure you watch that film. It is streaming on HBO Max. You can get it other ways, I'm sure, too, but it is available over on HBO Max if you have that service. Other housekeeping things. Last week's episode was also an offline episode. Well, we didn't stream it live, but it is available now. we mainly talked about Wu Chang Fallen Feathers. So our sort of review of Wu Chang Fallen Feathers is on the previous episode, episode 480. This is 481, where we're kind of just gonna get right into it. Actually, I will preface, just because the last few episodes have been you and I, or I guess this and the last episode you and I, and then I do feel like there was another week in July where there was a hiccup, probably because of the 4th of July. I think that weekend we might have missed an episode, or we recorded it later, or whatever. I think throughout the entirety of the next like month and a half, 2 months, there may be other weeks that have not normal. We don't record live. We don't record on the weekend or whatever it is. There may be other little ebbs and flows. My plan is sometime within the next few weeks to have a couple of pocket episodes in case we have some things pop up. I mean, I already know of a thing that is going to disrupt a week of shows, which is fine, at least 1 week of shows. So I want to at least have one in the tank ready for that. So we don't have to think about anything that week. But yeah, I think there's going to be maybe some other potential things that throw some little wrinkles into this normal schedule. So we'll get there when we get there. Anyways, just want to give the listeners a little heads up, just in case there's some weird programming releases or weird cadence to episodes coming out. Just so you're not like, what happened? Mike and Todd and Dom are still on the podcast. There's no, we didn't. It's not just Mike and I now. Because trust me, Mike would fucking run. He'd be like, I can't be the last one.
I did. Yeah.
But yeah, let's just get into it and see where things go. I guess we'll start things off with a thing that I don't want to talk spoilery about because it has just came out today officially. Is today the official release date?
I think they always say like, you know,
Friday
in theaters Friday, even though
it comes
they
out.
started playing it Thursday.
So we are going to chat a little bit, very spoiler free, about our, kind of broad stroke thoughts on Fantastic Four First Steps, and then when we do assemble the whole group back together, I'm sure we will have I don't know if we'll do a full episode on it, but we'll at least maybe talk a little bit more candidly about our thoughts and properly spoiler tag that. But I wanted to save that conversation for when everyone's here, because I do think we all have some thoughts on the film itself, kind of where the MCU is going, where the MCU has been, and temperature check of where we're at. And I think that's a good way to kind of just jump right into it, Mike. I guess how have you been feeling about the MCU? I know we talk about the MCU a lot, so like we may have said this already, but like I'm just gonna bring it to this conversation because I don't know. But like, what's your temperature currently, if you can separate prior to watching the film last night? Unless that temperature hasn't changed since the film, but
I mean, as a whole, I feel as though I was giving the MCU a chance to reorient itself after Endgame.
Okay.
I truly thought like they were just, setting some pieces down.
Yeah.
To like assemble towards some other grand vision. And on some level, I think they were doing that. And I don't know if there were things outside their control or just their whole process didn't really jive with that. Like, I think they do make movies in a way where they don't actually have a goal in mind. They're just setting up pieces, and then they're just like, oh well, whatever connects. Like they just want the board set, and then they'll decide, okay, let's use this, and this
to get there. Yeah, like they probably have like goalposts, but maybe not everything is like super detailed, planned out per movie.
Yeah. That being said, between the way the movies seemed to just attempt to set up things that don't necessarily have a planned payoff, or television shows that have varying levels of quality or what have you. Like, I still haven't finished watching Ironheart. I haven't gotten around to watching Born Again. That's not to say anything about the quality of either of those shows, just that, I don't know, I couldn't bring myself to like sit down and... Well, Daredevil was a separate problem, but Ironheart, I think I caught 2 episodes so far. and I'm just like, cool.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll echo that same exact sentiment too. I'm choosing to not watch Daredevil yet because in my mind I think somewhere, somehow, sometime I'm gonna actually watch the Netflix Daredevil stuff first. I don't know when or how I'm gonna even do that, like just time wise. So that's why I haven't watched that. And then with Ironheart, it is simply I just haven't really been watching TV at all because I still haven't watched The Bear. Like there are other things as well that like there's just things that I want to watch that I haven't watched, including Ironheart. So
yeah.
I'm in the same boat with you there.
All that being said, I think I did like Thunderbolts at the bare minimum. So
Mm-hmm.
going into Fantastic Four, I was like, okay, we can still make it work when we need it to.
Yeah. I think my MCU opinion might be the most I want to say notable, but like probably the one that people who've listened to the show may right at least remember the most because I don't want to say I'm an apologist. I'm definitely not. I think I'm very realistic in yeah, I may enjoy X or maybe no, we just had this conversation recently and it was not on a podcast. It was after a
Yeah.
podcast, not recorded anywhere. It should have just been a podcast. Anyways, uh I so I will just reiterate like broad stroke MCU, especially post Endgame MCU. I think I've liked a lot of projects, both on the TV and movie side, that I think maybe a lot more people don't like. And I do think that there's a lot of other things outside of like the actual quality and storytelling of what's going on in some of these things. And then, you know, hate mobs just attacking very specific shows or movies, which then makes me like want to analyze my thoughts on those movies more and be like, no, actually, I do enjoy my time with, you know, the Marvels or Miss Mar or whatever it may be. You know what I mean? So I I think like on an overall thing, I and I can probably say this pretty comfortably out of the four of us. I feel like I was probably by not a small margin the warmest on the MCU still out of the four of us.
Okay.
I mean, definitely Todd. Todd's hated the MCU since I don't know 2007. And then I feel like Dom has waffled a little bit. I think you and Dom share a lot of similar sentiments in movies
Yeah.
post Endgame. Um, I think on the shows actually though, at least when we did that whatever recap when we like ranked them our rankings and we were all kind of lined up. I think we all liked those batch of shows in a very similar way.
Hmm.
And I think some of those shows are like some of the best things in the MCU. Like I still love WandaVision. I still think about WandaVision. I haven't rewatched WandaVision. I watched it multiple times as it was like week to week. I would rewatch the episodes, and I really like that show. I haven't watched it since then because I don't think it will have the same. I still think it will be good, but there was something different attached to it because it was like a lot of speculation each week and like just
Yes.
like there was conversation around it, which I think you know I think that meta conversation does at least for me become a part of the thing, and I think rewatching it won't change it. It will just make me go like I know the thing that was I was wondering about that week. So like
Yeah.
I know the answer isn't that. So I don't know. But it's still I liked what they did that show. It was different. It was fun. But I think I also can personally recognize the shows or movies that maybe weren't the best, but I still found enjoyment, entertainment out of them. But I can understand that they're just not necessarily good, especially in like the grand scheme of the MCU. They can be on the lower end of quality or whatever they may be. But that being said, when I went into Thunderbolts, I had extremely, I don't want to say low expectations because I wasn't expecting it to be bad, but I went into it not really interested in that specific story. I was like, I don't like I'm gonna see this because I'm gonna, at least for now, still I'm gonna watch MCU movies when they come out, and I do like some of the characters in there, and that I just want to see the MCU how it plays out. So I think for me, going in there with like just kind of no expectation set of just like I'm just gonna go watch the next Marvel movie, I think I may have been a little bit higher on it than I definitely higher on it than I expected. I don't know where the film has landed in terms of like sales and or how critics and fans feel about it. But it was surprising to me that I enjoyed it as much as I did. With Fantastic Four, it was a little bit different, especially as the MCU these last two phases have gone on. Right, we're 2 phases now past Endgame.
Yeah, I think so, and that's what's another thing that's confusing me is like they're just splitting up phases willy nilly as far
Yeah.
as I'm concerned.
Well, now I feel like it kind of doesn't fucking matter. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think the phases before were structured in that, like, here's an overall story that we're trying to, like, get to in pieces. And I feel like there was that similar concept. But again, for some factors within their control and some without their control, like, they've had to make changes to things. So I think the phases become
Well, I
a little
mean,
less.
I like they weren't officially cut off at Avengers movies, but you could roughly say like a phase ended with an Avengers film. A
Yes.
lot of times they didn't. It was like the movie right after that film. So like phase 2 didn't end with Age of Ultron, it ended with like Ant-Man or something weird like that.
Yes. But I still feel like I'd have to like look at it all, but I feel like there were pivotal things that happened that like signified, like it wasn't just like it's been X amount of time, so this is the end of the phase. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just misremembering it. I have no idea. But like, because I don't think they always called it the Infinity Saga. I don't think they did that until after.
I think they started calling it that once it was coming to an end, or yes, right after.
Okay. So it's a thing post Endgame that gets muddy because they seemed to be similar to what you were saying, like they seem to be maybe trying to set up X, Y, or Z, or just planting a bunch of little narrative threads out there that they could then choose to go down paths. And it seems like they've chosen to maybe pivot a little bit more to another path that wasn't really being shown. And they're going down that path now for whatever reasons. Which I will again go on the record as saying, I know, especially Todd, this was Todd's complaint. It's probably still Todd's complaint. I'm sure other people share the sentiment. That he, well, I don't know how you and Dom specifically feel about it either, but I'm pretty sure Tom was very vocal about saying that he didn't like how there were a lot of these narrative threads that seemingly were not going anywhere. There was like, oh, all these new heroes and characters being introduced into the MCU, but they're all kind of just like not doing anything in building in that. But I personally kind of liked that, like, oh, we're getting all these new things, and like, I don't care if they don't all meet up at some point, but it's cool because they can at some point. But like, I don't need that to be the thing. We already did that. We already did Here's Everyone Together. And I'll still get excited and fucking giggly and smiley when it happens again, because it's gonna happen again. But it's like I didn't need that to be that thing. But anyways, Fantastic Four. I'm not a big Fantastic Four person. Doctor Doom's the man. I love Doctor Doom. But I feel like Doctor Doom, and this is like me showing my ass with comic knowledge, but he's typically their like main villain, correct?
Usually, yes. Like he has the strongest connection to them.
But I feel like over time he's become a more major just Marvel entity / villain or anti-hero.
I would say that he is their villain, but yes, he can slip into the role of group antagonist. Almost
Like
I
Loki.
would say in the way that Loki is Thor's villain, but sometimes like,
Yeah.
hey, he's a problem we all have to deal with.
It honestly, if Disney had the rights to all of this stuff, I wonder if we never got Loki, like, really at all, and it was just Doom from the beginning. You know what I mean? Like, because
I could, yeah.
as far as like the Infinity War story goes, he does sort of kind of fill the void of what Doom was also trying to do. He was like, oh no, we gotta stop Thanos from getting all these, I'll help you, but he just wanted to fucking steal it. Loki, again, in the end, sort of didn't wanna, like, he did fully turn, being like, no, this is actually, I don't know if he was gonna help the quote unquote good guys, but he definitely was like, oh no, this guy definitely can't get this shit.
Yeah.
But he still wanted it for himself, right? Maybe not. No, I feel like
I would have to go through the events of Thor Ragnarok again, because that was what came right before that.
But I mean, I feel like at the beginning, I guess spoilers if you haven't watched Infinity War Endgame, sorry, skip ahead a minute or two. The way it starts, it's like Loki is choosing to cross Thanos there, and it's not for really his own benefit. I think he knows in that moment, like, he's not getting out of that ship.
Yeah, I mean, he tried to pull a fast one over on Thanos, and I don't know if he truly thought it would work. I think it was a long shot.
Yeah.
He gave it his all, and it didn't work out for him.
Yeah. But I do think it was like him genuinely trying to pull it for like the greater good and not for like his back pocket.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's how it seemed. It seemed like it was like the turn of his character being like, maybe he's not.
Well, I think what I was getting at,
thinks he is.
What I was getting at was, I think that change of heart came from the events of Ragnarok.
Yes.
And I can't remember how Ragnarok happened. Like, it wasn't something that happened to him in the moment at the beginning of that film. It was something that was built up to when him and Thor teamed up to fight their sister in that movie.
Okay. Yeah, probably. I remember liking Ragnarok. I should watch it again soon. I feel like I like that movie.
I love Ragnarok. Yeah, I remember that.
But so going into it, like, Fantastic Four was not like they're not necessarily compelling to me. And again, maybe they are fantastic. I really wish I didn't say that word. You know, comics and like other things that people love them for, and I'm sure they are. I think they're like a very beloved like superhero group. I just don't have that connection to them, so I wasn't like necessarily excited for that reason. I liked the cast. Cast is great. Watching the movie, cast is phenomenal. But I went in there kind of like, you know, I kind of feel like there's a lot riding on this movie. I feel like they really need to kind of really reset what they have going on and really gain a lot of favor back with moviegoers and fans of the MCU, or people who've kind of been whatever in the MCU. And I don't think they like necessarily grand slam out of the fucking park on this, but I personally think this was like extremely well done movie. I loved the story. I love like the setting of it, and like all of that like retro futuristic look and feel. Fantastic. I don't remember. Was there a film grain on it? I feel like there might have kind of been. They did a lot of weird shots, so like there was other stuff.
I mean, there were instances where they pretend to be like on that
film.
television show.
Yeah.
And then this one they would use film grain stuff.
Yeah. So
and change the aspect ratio.
Yeah. Yes. So like they do a lot of cool things. I think they're doing like I personally like how they start the film and introduce these characters into the MCU formally. I mean, because are we counting Deadpool?
Yeah. No, I mean, depends on what you're trying to count him for.
Just like being formally introduced, I would say no.
Oh, yeah, I mean, yes.
Because Chris Evans is Johnny, right? Or no? Am I misremembering that?
Yeah. Yes, he was Johnny Storm.
So it's a formal introduction, and I like how they do the beginning of that. Like I kind of like how the movie is framed in that regard. I won't give it away, but I do like that framing and how it sort of ties together. And I like that stuff. I It was weird to get this kind of movie because it feels, in some ways, to me, it felt like an older style of comic book movie. Without elaborating on that more, it's hard to, I guess, say that without elaborating more, but it felt kind of like that in some of its presentation and in some of its humor, but it didn't feel like hokey to me. Like, it felt genuine and it felt like still very good. Um, and I liked how it handled some of its like main plot stuff. Galactus, I'm still figuring out how I feel about that whole thing, but and Surfer, just in terms of like their introduction into the MCU and what those characters are going to be or do after. Um, but that's like that's it's actually I don't, and this is the thing. I'm trying to like figure out how to say things without saying specific things.
Mm.
And I don't know if this is even a spoiler to say this. You think it's a spoiler to not say anything specific, but to say something about how this film fits into the grander MCU? Is that a spoiler? Maybe it is.
I don't. If you're talking about what I think you're talking about, I don't think so. Basically, anything that was like in the trailers, I think is fair game. And I think there are certain things that, even if they weren't explicitly said in the trailer, I think it was like known information. Like it was kind of very implicit in the.
So that's not necessarily helpful to me because I stopped watching the trailers for this movie.
Oh.
Which I meant to ask you guys now after the fact. I won't do it here. But Todd complained about one of the trailers saying there was a spoil, like a major spoiler, and I was like, well, I'm definitely not watching any more trailers of this movie. I'm just going to see the movie. It comes out in 2 weeks or whatever. So I'm curious what that actually was. I have an idea of what it was, but
I remember.
don't.
I kind of remember that conversation. I remember saying, let me see if I can find that exact text. Because I remember him saying something along those lines and me saying something akin to, because I was watching videos of like people's breakdowns of the trailers prior to this one.
Yeah.
And they had kind of come to the conclusion that this was going to be part of the film. And that trailer just kind of confirmed that suspicion.
Okay. So this is what I'll say then. I'll sum up that thought a little bit differently. Is that as much as the MCU obviously loves to try to tie everything together and push things together, and it's a big web of stories and characters and, you know, whatever, I do think, and this kind of echoes into a little bit of how it's been post Endgame, is that as much as there's clearly some things for that, it also felt like a very contained movie, which I think we don't get a lot of that in the MCU.
So, okay. I feel like what you're alluding to was something I was going to just say outright.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess just say it. I don't know. If you're listening
Yeah,
to this and
like,
you don't want anything, just stop listening. Just turn us off.
I mean,
Turn the TV off.
yeah, just turn the TV off. Turn the TV off. Yeah, I feel like the trailers made no effort to hide the fact that this was like an alternate reality kind of thing. So like this was a different universe.
Oh, that's not what I was gonna say. Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yes, if you're listening to this and you didn't, I feel like that's been very explicit.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean,
so
it takes place in it. If it were to take place in the same universe as the MCU Prime, I think there'd be people that would know about I think they would know about
yes.
Fantastic Four and other events that happen in this film. Like that would be very hard to retcon. Like that would make no sense. The only way it can work is that.
Yeah. So yes, this takes place in an alternate Earth where the Fantastic Four are the only heroes in town. Like they are.
Has that been explicitly said in the trailer?
I don't remember if that was explicitly
Okay,
said, but
because
I
I
think
was
that's
I
what promotion. That's what
promotion.
promotional
Okay,
material. I think.
okay,
Like I think everyone knew like this is an alternate universe where they are the only heroes.
okay.
So because of that, it felt the film does not feel bogged down by the history of the MCU,
Yes, yeah, it is
and I
allowed to
think that does
breathe a
work
little
in its
bit.
favor.
Yeah, it works in its favor. I think a lot. Like honestly, I think you know the whole cast fantastic. I'm sure there'll probably be a lot of moviegoers that want to see this movie for Pedro Pascal, and I think that's another thing that will work in its favor. Of like, you don't necessarily need to have watched whatever 20 years of Marvel movies to understand what's going on. You might need to do some recaps after if you want to see where they go, because I would imagine they're gonna latch on to. I foresee this movie doing very well. I foresee them latching on to these characters as like the next bigger portion of what the MCU is trying to accomplish. Because I mean, the next movies are. Do we say Spider-Man is next, and then it's Doomsday, or is it Doomsday's next?
Um, yeah, I can't remember because something got pushed. I think Spider-Man is next. I think it would have been Doomsday, Spider-Man, Secret Wars, but Doomsday got pushed back, so now it's Spider-Man.
Okay, so yeah, I mean they're gonna. The cast was fantastic. We don't need to keep like speculating on what they're gonna do. I mean, some of the movies are already in development. Like Avengers Doomsday is coming. We all know we all know what's going to happen there in some regard. Um I think the acting was fantastic. There were moments where I like laughed out loud. It was great. Like the banter between Ben and Johnny, fantastic.
Mhm.
The inter team banter between all four of them is like that chemistry is great. Like they were all really good. Um I liked the robot guy, Herbie. Is that his name? Herbie?
Herbie. Yep.
Uh, there was, other characters, well, like just other people that exist in that world. I don't want to say other characters because they're, like as Mike said, there's really not that. That's not what this film is. That popped up. That it's just like it was just like good. It was just enjoyable. I liked it, and I liked the Silver Surfer, and I actually liked Galactus as well. Um, I'm just curious what those two entities role or not, I guess not role in the MCU. Like that is the only thing I'm kind of like, I wonder what they do with them in the future if they do anything.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. The movie was great. I think it had some good emotional beats. I think it had a lot of just acting, and I really liked that. And I kind of wish we would get a better blend of that into the MCU because they have a lot of fantastic actors that play a lot of these characters. And I think, for a movie that I would say didn't have a lot, I would say it was more acting than action. Am I wrong to say that? I feel like there was a lot of acting.
Um, yeah, probably. So one of the things I would say was, on top of besides the aesthetic, there were like some action set pieces that I really enjoyed,
Mm-hmm.
or that I'm not going to go into, but there were things I was like, oh, that's actually like this is a really cool visual, or like
Yeah.
this is kind of neat, and yeah, as a matter of fact, I remember thinking to myself, a lot of a lot of the trailers seem to come from stuff that you see very early on in the film.
Okay.
Some of the stuff is from, middle or later, but there's like a lot of stuff that really only came from the beginning of the film, like early on in the film, I would say. Uh, so to your point, yeah, I think there wasn't a lot of quote unquote action. There was probably two or three like big action moments, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I would say one of I'm not gonna say anything actually. But yeah, probably like two or three. But a lot of great. I agree with you on the set pieces. Like a lot of cool set pieces. Uh, that just stylized world is fantastic. It was great to have that. It like it also, because of everything, the period in time and the aesthetic, it let them be in like, you know, goofier looking superhero suits, I would say. Like not what the MCU typically has now. I feel like the MCU is like more, they try to make them look more grounded or real, whereas like they're wearing fucking bright blue sweaters basically. Like they're like in more comic booky outfits.
Their costumes fit within
Yes.
that universe's design as opposed to the MCU stuff currently, which does go for a more grounded look and therefore requires suits that look like, you know, a bunch of metal pieces stuck
Exactly.
together or
Yeah.
whatever you have.
Where they're just literally in sweaters basically. And let me tell you, my guy, the Thing, he is just, he's got that drip. The whole
He's got that shit
fucking
on for
movie.
real.
He is in some outfits that I'm like, okay, all right, I want to see more of this guy in the MCU. Like, I don't care if the rest of the Fantastic Four don't make appearances. Like, give me more of the Thing. Give me more fucking Evan Moss. But yeah, oh man, it was such a good movie. Like, it hit me in the feelings in certain parts. It was funny. I think the overall point that I think is kind of like what's tying the movie for me, and like for at least my opinion on it, is I when we go see a fucking movie, a Marvel movie, we usually stand in the parking lot for X amount of time and talk about it, which we did last night. It was a little more curtailed
Mhm.
than normal, I would say, but we always do that. We did it for a little bit, but leaving that movie last night, or not even that, when the credits hit, and I'm not even the guy that says the MCU is gone or like whatever, but I looked at you and I was like, are we fucking back, Mike? Because I was like kind of blown away. You were still digesting, you were still processing, you were thinking about some things, but I was like immediately like, that was a good movie. I really enjoyed myself. And when we, talked in the parking lot, I think one of the last things I said to you was like, do I need to go fucking like maybe buy some Fantastic Four comics? Because I don't know, I don't know enough about them. And now I'm like curious. Now I'm like, oh man, I've been sleeping on the Fantastic Four potentially. That those two things, and especially together, don't happen often when I walk out of a Marvel movie. It's not like, wow, I really had a good time. And it's not also, do I need to go read fucking comics? I think the only other two times that I did that were after Guardians 1. And because the Guardians were in a similar boat, probably a bigger boat. I don't know, smaller boat. I don't know which way to go. Whereas, like, I didn't know shit about the Guardians. Like, I think most people did.
They were a more obscure team up.
So maybe the Guardians comparison isn't the same. Just because now I'm trying to think. I feel like I may have actually got some Guardians comics before the movie, because I think I wanted to maybe familiarize. I can't remember. Actually.
I mean, I think they're probably in a similar boat for you, just in terms of, because I think you went into it knowing very little about the Fantastic Four altogether.
Yeah. But to be fair, though, it is also like sort of a not fair comparison, because I do think that I think a lot of people would put Guardians 1 very, very, very high on an MCU tier list.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where this would fall on an MCU tier list. It is very, very too early to even talk about that, I think. But I will say, I do think this is a very good movie that I enjoyed a lot. Regardless, though, like, the fact that I walked out and was like, oh, I kind of want to go investigate these characters some more, I think it speaks very highly to the experience I had in the movie theater. I think that is the point I'm trying to make, is that it made me have that feeling where, again, the only other two times that I can remember really that I maybe there's 3 times then. It's not often. For how many Marvel movies and TV shows there are, it does not happen often that that's the thing that sparks me to go investigate, additional reading materials. When it be, I don't know, I don't actually know. Maybe there is a podcast where I talk about reading it, so that would be the way to pinpoint it. But I don't know what actually sparked it. I'm assuming it would have been at some point when it became either clearer that we were moving towards potentially Infinity War situation, or when we were just getting closer to that actual movie. I did read Infinity War, so like that was a thing that I went to do. And then the other, but I didn't actually do it, so maybe Fantastic Four will fall in the same boat, was after WandaVision. I liked WandaVision so much that I was like, I'm pretty sure WandaVision is based on a very specific run of I forget what the comic is called, but I don't think it's called WandaVision, but I think there is a comic that is about Wanda and Vision, and it is what this is sort of based around. So I was like, oh shit, maybe I should read that, because I actually really enjoyed that show a lot, but I never bought it. So but Fantastic Four, I do want to dip my toe. I mean, because again, with Fantastic Four, we do also get Doom, and like getting some additional Doom knowledge that I don't have is intriguing to me. So I don't know. It's cool. Had a good time. That's where I'm at. I think it's a good movie.
Fantastic Four. Bum, 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 bum.
How did you feel about the score? I liked the score overall. Like, outside of the theme, I thought the music in the movie was good. Like, I thought it was like, it had good.
Yeah, I like the score. I was just saying that
they used that a lot.
I feel like they used it a lot, and I'm not saying it's bad. I just feel like it was noticeable. Like there'd be a moment and I'm like, okay, I get it. It's the '60s.
I do love, because I do think Mr. Fantastic's powers are lame. Like, is that a common thought? I would imagine like stretchy limbs is like not a cool power.
Stretchy. I mean, if you're gonna, look at the pantheon of stretchy people, he's on that list.
Yeah, I guess. But like in the pantheon of like superhero abilities, I don't know where stretchy arms gets you, stretchy body.
I'm not gonna say it's unique, but I do think it's probably iconic.
Okay. But like, do you want to be iconic, or do you want to be like, I don't know, have cool powers?
I'd rather be stretchy than Big Rock Man.
Well, so this is what I'll say. I don't think stretchy fall, especially because he can control it, from what I gathered watching that movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't fall into the category of powers I would rather just not have powers. Like, it doesn't fall into that category. But, and I'm not fully ruling out being Rockman. Like, major life changes, but I'm not fully ruling it out. There are some that I think I would fully rule out. I'm not going to give them to you off the top of my head, but there are definitely powers where I'm like, I'd rather just be regular. I'd rather just be a regular dude. I don't need fucking superpowers. If my superpower is I have a tongue like a toad, like I don't need that. Yeah. Or I don't, maybe I do. I don't know. You get that little pie smell clouds floating through the window, and you can just be sitting down and go, instead of floating over to the pie, you can just go Yoshi that shit. I don't know if I want to put a full pie in my mouth, but hot pie.
I'm familiar with the iconography. It's just that I rarely find pies cooling in the window, so maybe too many people were floating around eating these pies.
I've never seen a pie sitting in a window. Do you think that like hurt the pie sitting in a window community, where it's like people think this is what happens when you put pies in a window? Because I've never seen a pie in a window in person.
Maybe the technology's just changed. Like there are better ways to cool a pie.
That's also probably true. I don't know. I mean, I guess we just did a whole podcast on a spoiler-free Fantastic Four. So
Cool.
That's
You did
where
it.
we're at. Is there anything else you want to say? Dom's texting me. I'm gonna laugh if it's about Fantastic Four. It is not. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm fuck. I meant to bring this up at the beginning of the conversation, or when I started talking about like how I felt going into the film. I was texting with Dom last night before we went to the movies because he had seen it prior to us going to see it, and he was speaking very positively about it. And I was like, oh man, if Dom enjoyed it that much, like I'm either gonna have a miserable time or I'm gonna be real fucking happy with this movie. It would have been funny if the three of you, because it seemed like all three of you at least enjoyed the film. If I walked out and was like, that movie fucking sucked.
It would have been funny.
But yeah, I don't know. Who's your favorite Fantastic Four hero?
Um, I've never given it thought. If you ever ask these, like, who's your favorite Fantastic Four character, I'd just go Doctor Doom. But if you have to like narrow it down to the four of them, huh?
That is interesting, though. I wonder how many other people would say Doom and not a Fantastic Four member. It makes you think. Makes you think.
Yeah, I think Doom is somewhat bigger than the Fantastic Four, but
Oh, 100%, I think.
he is intrinsically tied to them
Yeah.
in such a way that is my one major gripe with the RDJ casting for him is that they've essentially made Doctor Doom a fucking Echo Fighter of Iron Man.
I'm Is it a spoiler to say anything about Doom?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay. So then I'm just going to not say
I
anything.
yeah, I don't want to confirm or deny things one way or another
Okay.
regarding him for people.
All I am going to say is, well, actually, I'm not going to say anything because it really is. Whatever Doom ends up being in any of these films, I hope that there's a true Doom somewhere. But even if that's the case, I feel like we're also maybe potentially being robbed of, like, you know, the connection with the Fantastic Four that we now have.
Yeah, I mean, I have speculations and I have questions, things that I don't necessarily want to get into right now, not
Yeah.
because they directly spoil anything in the film, but I don't want to imply anything about the film either. It's
Yeah.
just I have questions and I've got, ideas and I've got this, that, and the other, and I don't know how these things are going to be resolved or answered. And I think at the end of the day, they will, like the MCU, and they will do a decent job with their rendition of Doom. My problem is that when something like that happens, the comics end up having to be like, all right, well, I guess this is the way people want to see this character now. We're going to conform, like they'll make the changes to the comics to reflect that. And I think that's unfortunate.
Avengers Doomsday, knowing nothing about the movie and knowing nothing about what the MCU is doing with Doom, makes me think that RDJ is not Final Doom. But I don't know what that means for Doom. Or if it is Final Doom in the MCU, at least, it does feel like a waste. Like, it feels like a waste of an iconic character.
Yeah, like, because I can see from the offset how it would make sense for Doctor Doom to be for Tony Stark and Doctor Doom to be variants of each other. Like, I can see I can envision a storyline where there is a quote unquote evil version of Tony Stark where, he's a super genius who does ultimately want to save people, but he goes so far that he becomes essentially a dictator. I can see that happening, and like I can, and then furthermore, I can see a movie storyline where you kind of run with the idea that the guy who basically saved the universe in their last big battle is now the antagonist. I can see all that, and I can see them
Yeah.
playing to it. To
I
your point, though, I can also see a world where his his face being similar to Tony Stark is not because they are variants, but for some other reason they happen to have the same appearance, and there is another version that has nothing to do with Tony Stark.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that, like, again, if you're still listening to this and you're worried about us spoiling anything from Fantastic Four, we aren't. I think that's
Yeah.
fair to say. We're not spoiling anything.
Mhm.
I think the point I was trying to make, I agree with you. I think there is a world where whatever they're planning to do with this thing, with RDJ, can be entertaining and cool and fun. I don't know if that means that, like, Avengers Doomsday is the end of RDJ. Like, I can't imagine RDJ is going to stay back in the MCU for a long time. Like, him personally,
Well,
the
I think
actor.
I think at the bare minimum they need him for Doomsday and Secret Wars.
Yeah.
After Secret Wars, I can see a bunch of things being changed.
Yeah.
Doom being one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess the thing that I'm trying to get at is, like, it seems like they're probably not going to then also reset the Fantastic Four cast to make it like a different cast of characters that has a
No.
different Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I don't know. This is all speculation. This is all stuff that we're just saying out loud
This is all
and talking
speculation,
about.
and yeah, and what I was gonna say is that, like, given the events of Secret Wars 2015, the most recent Secret Wars comic book line, the idea is that, I think even Kevin Feige himself said, like, he didn't say the word reboot, or I don't know if he said reset. He said something that basically implies, like, hey, after this, we're going to probably streamline everything. We'll have one universe, and we'll probably just pick and choose the things that we want to keep. So yes, we'll probably keep this Fantastic Four cast. We'll probably get new X-Men. You might keep Hugh Jackman, but you will, cast a new set of mutants, and a handful of other characters will probably get recast.
I mean, the it's one thing when it's like, here's, I'm writing a show called Severance, and I'm trying to write this good show that has all of these narrative threads and, things that exist in that world that have to be explained, and, all of this stuff that needs to work on so many levels together to get to this point in the story, in acting and characters, and all that stuff needs to coalesce to make this great thing that, hopefully in season 3 continues to be great. That's all within, seemingly, for the most part, their control of doing that, because it's their brain making these things. Actors don't seem to have issues. Everything seems to be like, it's just the product they're making and writing and creating and doing this together as creatives. They're in control of that, how that goes. Obviously, they were doing a bunch of stuff to set things up. Obviously, there's so many spinning plates. Actor passes away. Someone does something that, Disney doesn't want them to work there. Whatever it may be. There are things that they can't control that, may or may not make them change things. obviously they purchased fucking the rights to Fox, so they get, they get X-Men and Fantastic Four and whatever else that they couldn't previously do things on. So like, knowing all of that reality of stuff, there are a lot of concessions I am personally okay with being like, I don't really care how, like, if there's like, there at some point it really just does need to be a Thanos snap of like, nope, like, okay, we're just doing this and we want to do it this way, and like, okay, it's going to get messy, and then we'll move forward. And then after that point, if they choose, which it seems like they're moving towards some form of reset or restructuring or however they're going to do it, after that point, if they're still trying to have this big interconnected web of storytelling and movies and TV shows and all this stuff, then I think I'm a little bit more like of a harsher critic on certain things. It doesn't mean I can't be a harsher critic on stuff now. It's just, I think it's like, yeah, how else would the Fantastic Four exist in the MCU if they, you know what I mean? Like, there's no other way to do it. Or there's no clean, creative way to do it. It's just, we can use the multiverse and we can do this and do this and do this. And, some people will be mad about it and some people won't. And I think I fall in the camp of like, you're just making big superhero fucking chili. I want the bowl of chili, so just get the Fantastic Four and X-Men into the chili so I can eat the chili. And then after that, if I want chili again, I just want good chili, if that makes sense.
Well, I kind of lost you once we got into the food analogy, but
Okay.
yeah, that makes sense.
Like they were trying to make something they didn't have the ingredients for before. And then someone came by and was like, oh, I know you already started cooking, but like, I got you these ingredients. Well, add them in. They may not cook, they may not coalesce the same in the pot, but, I still want to get them in.
They all
there.
become friends in the pot.
Yeah.
They know each other.
Now you're making a stew. But then when you're cooking the next batch of the stew, the chili, you have the ingredients now. Don't fucking burn the pot. Give me the good chili. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah. Now you have the ingredients. So like, I'm okay with, you didn't follow. You had to make some changes on the fly. So yeah, I don't know. I am now kind of. I was antsy and excited to get to Infinity War and Endgame with this build up, all the stuff, all coming together. Now I'm kind of at the point where it's like, I kind of just want to get to these other things because I really just want to see what you are going to try to do. I'm sure I'll still enjoy Spider-Man. I'm sure I'll still enjoy both Avengers films, but I am now kind of just maybe more curious about what comes after.
Yeah.
Still curious about what they're doing, but I do think that there's, with each passing Avengers movie, just going to continue to be more pressure of what are you doing? And I do wonder if after Secret Wars, if especially if it's going to be like a complete retooling and kind of reset of that universe and what's important to the stories they're trying to tell. As much as I think the Avengers name and branding has become so mainstream and important to them, I don't know if we get necessarily Avengers movies after that. At least not for a while. I could see Fantastic Four becoming maybe like more of a focal thing for them, or I can see like the X-Men being that, or I could see it being like a, I don't know. Do they have other grander team up names than the Avengers, like the Avengers, or no? That like pulls from other hero parties?
I'm trying to think about it off the top of my head. So we've got the Defenders, we've got.
But those are like, for the most part, those types of team ups are like, there's like a small pool of people that kind of rotate in and out. Or like the Avengers is kind of like the catch-all, from what I gather.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
There's not another like more grander catch-all team up, right? It's like at some point everyone's an Avenger. It's the kind of the
not that I can think of anyone.
Okay, all right. Did they ever float publicly the idea of like X-Men versus? I know there was a rumor that like Avengers was going to be.
I think
X-Men
there was a
Avengers.
rumor, and then given that Doomsday does have a lot of the X-Men cast from the old X-Men movies,
Yeah.
people think that it might be like basically, I think people are coming to the conclusion that is going to be an Avengers versus X-Men movie that is being manipulated by probably a Doctor Doom.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I don't know. All right, we've definitely talked and speculated way too much about the MCU now. Unless there are other things you wanted to say about the MCU.
Nah, I'm good.
Okay. Fantastic Four, good. If you didn't watch it or you're on the fence, I think it is good. I haven't seen Superman. I've seen people talk about which one should you see first. I can't speak to that. Maybe Mike can. But from what I've gathered on Superman, also a good film. So just, I don't know, if you have the time and the budget, go see both.
I did.
I don't know. Cool. All right. Well, that will do it for this week's episode 481. We'll keep it a brief outro. Subscribe to us if you don't. Leave us a 5-star review if you haven't. Apple Podcast, Spotify. We record the show live every week at twitch.tv/passcontroller. You can't catch it live, no sweat. We post those videos also over on YouTube. Just search for Pass the Controller Podcast. You want to see everything we do, whether it's podcast, video, written work, drink recipes, any of that stuff, just go to passthecontroller.io. That is our website. You can find everything there. But I think that'll do it for this week. We will see you next time.